We are doing the last video on the chain stitch that you can do on the Husqvarna Viking Embroidery S600. So we've converted this serger to cover stitch, so make sure you check out that video on how we got to this step. And we are currently set up with all 3 needles in for that 3 needle cover stitch option. Stitch number 23, the triple cover stitch. So now I want to show you how we go from 3 needles down to doing just a single chain stitch. And we're talking about using 1 needle and the cover stitch looper, which is going to be our purple one. But when we go to the stitch, it will actually remind us, stitch number 26, which of the needles I'll be using. Now in this picture it shows blue, and so I do know that I will be using the blue location, so I am going to remove the yellow and the pink thread. But how did I know that? Here is the most important part. As I come to the screen, I see that we are using needle position D, D as in dog, and the other 2 are undone. And so here's the thing, is on some of the cover stitch machines I've used, we use the needle that's on the outside or the other side, and sometimes it's in the middle. So I love that this machine shows me like, oh yeah, we use the center one on this machine. So never, if you don't remember, it's okay, because you're going to pick the stitch and then you're going to look here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just snip the ones I don't need, remove them from the serger, and then I can even pull those out right now, so they're out. I've got 1 thread blue and then 1 thread purple, that's from underneath, and then I can just come here with my needle threader on the opposite end, loosen those screws and drop those needles out, tighten the screw up so they don't wiggle loose later. The one on the right side, I do have to lower the presser foot to usually get that little guy underneath, and then that way I can catch him and he pulls out. So super easy there. Let's lift up that presser foot, slide the fabric underneath. Now you are going to see that this is actually a stitch that is going to look like a straight stitch on the top of your fabric. And as you sew, oh, and I'm going to show you a little trick for locking this. You could actually take just this machine and you would have a sewing machine stitch and a serger and a cover stitch all in one. Like if you could only take one machine and I was in a pinch or I didn't have a lot of space, I could actually do just about everything. I know I can't do zigzag or buttonholes or decorative stitches, but I could do a lot with just this one machine if I was to take it with me. Now, a way to lock a chain stitch is take your hand wheel, turn it all the way so the needle comes to the highest position, lift up the presser foot, and then bring something sharp or skinny underneath the foot to clip that blue needle thread, and then pull it out the back, and it will lock that into position. So this is what it looks like on the back. This is what it looked like on a triple cover stitch. But on the back of a chain stitch, it is really nice and neat. Now I'm going to tell you one other use for a chain stitch that our long armors love, but it is a straight stitch. You could put decorative thread back here and almost have that really kind of chain looking, kind of like real chain looking, because it's going to be decorative. And you could use this decoratively. Make sure you sew upside down, because remember, it's the underneath side that's going to show. It's kind of like doing bobbin work on your sewing machine, but we're doing it on your serger cover stitch machine. Now, the reason people like this for long armors, hear me out, is when if they're using zippered leaders, those zippers have to be stitched onto the quilt backs, and then they have to be unstitched and then stitched onto the next quilt. And what you can do is if you stitch with a chain stitch onto one of these leaders, when you're done, you can snip this out and then pull on the thread, and then it just comes out as one long removable stitch. So then you're not having to actually take out each of the stitches. Now I have locked this, and the lock is super, super good. So you do have to undo the lock, and then you'll be able to pull it completely out. Once you get a hold of the right thread, you can see why the long armors love to remove their zippers from their leaders in one long pulled out stitch. by using a chain stitch on their zippered leader. So that's a great other one. But you can use that in any place that you need a sewn seam. It's very stable. It doesn't stretch, so it's going to make something be not stretchy and not grow on you. So shoulder seams are a great place to use a chain stitch, but you can just sew with it. So remember, this machine is so versatile, and if you haven't tried out all these stitches, we do recommend that you click on the links below. We've got links to all the videos we've done on this machine. We've got links to our favorite cover stitch Craftsy classes that are online that you can take. I really recommend that if you want to learn more. I know I did. I thought I knew everything about cover stitch, and then I took one of those classes and I realized I didn't. So definitely check those out and try out all these stitches little at a time. You don't have to do them all at once, but with the super easy air jet threading system, going from stitch to stitch is a breeze.